What's up, guys? It's the Kush Completionist here. I'm back today with a different video, and that is, I think I have a solid about 15, 16 names here who I think is probably going to be the FSU head coach of 2026. Mike Norvell has not officially been fired, but I think we all know that it's coming any day yet. As of recording this video, Billy Napier has been fired at UF. There's some candidates out there, some obvious ones. I think I have some pretty clear tiers. It's my first video on FSU, but been an FSU fan a long time, and I'm pretty knowledgeable about stuff. I think we got a good list here. There will be some crazy stuff. I think I understand what the fans want, and we'll talk about that here in the tiers. Let's get into it with our first tier of candidates, guys. Here we go. Now, I think this first one is obvious, and I think it's the first call. I think a lot of FSU fans are crossing their fingers and hoping this could be the hire. That's James Franklin. I think James Franklin has to be FSU's first call to try to get him here. The one thing, are you worried about? Because again, the thing about FSU is FSU a more attractive job than others that may open up. Does UF go after him? Does Auburn go after him? Does maybe LSU fire Brian Kelly? We'll get to that later, and go after James Franklin. Does USC do something crazy and go after James Franklin? James Franklin is going to have his choice of school of where he's going to want to coach. Can FSU sell itself and invest itself into his vision? And maybe that's the thing, is like, I think with this one, FSU is going to have to do a job of selling themselves to James Franklin and making sure that he's going to get everything he's wanted. And I think that's going to be, I think it's possible, especially since I think FSU's main selling point is maybe the lesser conference that they're in, and saying, well, right now you really only have to beat a Miami team that isn't as good as the Ohio State teams that you're facing and losing to every year, and ultimately what got you fired. I think weirdly, Florida State makes sense in James Franklin's, like, what he would want of, like, yeah, you don't have to face Ohio State every year at Florida State. You're gonna have to face tough teams, and our schedule next year is pretty tough, but it's an easier path than Penn State is, and I think he's everything we're looking for. But I think the one thing where you don't spend $50 million to hire a non-home run hire, that's the names we're going over now. And so I think you go for James Franklin for this first call. Number two, I have Brian Kelly. This one's a little bit weird because he is kind of knotted up at LSU right now. He's not on the market, but I think he's on the hot seat. And I think other jobs could easily open up where Brian Kelly is going to be on the market. And this is what I'm kind of going. This first tier is home run hires. I think FSU with the last few hires of Willie Taggart and Mike Norvell, I think FSU fans are ready for, like, no, we need to go with the no doubt approach. We need a Power 4 coach who has been to a playoff game, and who has won playoff games, and who also has led high programs to good recruiting classes. And so that's what you have in James Franklin and Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly is maybe, but again, I think it's, there are other one. There's like a shadow realm. Like I didn't put Lane Kiffin, Brent Key, Kenny Dillingham, and there might be like one other on here, because I really honestly don't see them going. Lane Kiffin, if Ole Miss does not make the playoffs, they could maybe fire him to go for a Troy Summerall or John Summerall, sorry. And that maybe leaves Lane open, but then I think he would just be so connected to UF, so I don't have it in there. Lincoln Riley is another one. Lincoln Riley, if somehow USC fires Lincoln Riley, or that splits up somehow, that doesn't count. That's not the official number. We're still doing Brian Kelly. I think Brian Kelly is different than a Lincoln Riley, or I think it's much more plausible than a Lane Kiffin or a Lincoln Riley. And if we wanted to, I think it makes sense, because at LSU, he hasn't been the best fit. Again, there's more cons to him than James Franklin. He's a little bit out of touch with the media. He says dumb stuff. Is he a good recruiter as the logo implies? We don't know, but he has some big wins, and he has team. At some point in this season, his teams are ranked in the top 10. I think that's what FSU is desperately wanting, and that happens every season. So I think this one will get some blowback. It's not a complete home run like James Franklin is, but I still think it'd be a really good hire. So my number two home run hire is Brian. 3, I got Eli Drinkowitz. This one might be a little tougher too. I think the one thing FSU fans are going to have to swallow is what's going to be seen as lateral moves and actual promotions. I think at Missouri's invested in him, so I think this one's a lot less likely than Brian Kelly or James Franklin. But he does. I put him on here because maybe there is a way we could get him, and he does check all the boxes. He's won consistently in the big conferences, and he has recruited 5-stars. That's my main thing. That's what I'm looking for as a fan. I want, at the end of the day, it's like, do you recruit 5-star? Do you land 5-stars and hit on them? And do you win games? Do you win big games in Power 4 level? Those are the two things that I want. In fact, if I number 4, and I am gonna this is gonna finalize my tier of, I think, these 4 names: Brian Kelly, James Franklin, Eli Drinkowitz, and I would consider Brian Hartline to be a home run hire. He's the recruiter of the decade, and I could argue he's maybe the best recruiter of all time. Nobody hits at 5 stars the way this guy does, and develop NFL talent the way he does. The one thing people are going to say and push back on, hasn't been a head coach before, and it's only been his first year back being a play caller. But I don't care. Look at the top teams. Ryan Day was not a head coach for Ohio State. Kirby Smart was not a head coach before Georgia Tech. Dan Lanning was not a head coach before Oregon. Yes, there's the Kurt Signettis and the Josh Heupels, but there's, again, I think FSU fans are fucking done. I don't give a fuck what you're. I don't give a fuck if you're a head coach at fucking Tulane or Boise State. I don't give a fuck. It does not translate to big boy fucking football in the fucking South. So I need motherfuckers that get me the Jimmies and the fucking Joes. And Brian Hartline is the best recruiter in the country, and to hire him, and can maybe he get you nail the recruiting, you nail the OC and DC hires, especially the DC hire. You would have to nail, but I really think he would bring a lot of juice to this program, and I would consider him a home run hire. Number 4, Brian fucking Hartline. Guys, we're going to start our next tier here. I wouldn't consider these home run hires. I do think they have cons of somewhat, but I would be happy. That means to be good hires. I'm going to start it off. Some fans are going to check out and say what this guy's fucking talking about. Jimbo Fisher would be if you can't get those 4 names that I just mentioned above, I think Jimbo Fisher would be my first call. There's a financial side to it. He's already making buttloads and buttloads from his buyout of Texas A&M. So he would be cheap, but the thing, there's like a caveat. There's no way FSU fans and myself are going to accept him coming. Oh yeah, I want to run the same offense I was running in Texas A&M. It's like no, motherfucker. You got to hire somebody. You got to get Can Jimbo with a lot of the ties? Can he get a young OC again? He would have to nail coordinator hires for it to really work out and be the way it needed to be. But again, I really like Jimbo Fisher. I think 59 isn't the oldest. I think he could still recruit, and again, recruiting is a big thing. And again, I think it would work out. You could invest. It would save us money, and he'd be the cheapest option. And maybe that blends with that experience and that thing that I've said it before. Do you win big games consistently in power conferences? And do you recruit 5 fucking stars? Those are the 2 things that I fucking want in my fucking candidate. And Jimbo, yes, maybe a little on the irrelevant side of those 2 things. But again, I think he would really have to pair with a good. Again, I said there's Gerard Johnson is the Texans QB coach. Could you get a young NFL guy? Could you get a young up and comer to be an OC with Jimbo Fisher and have Jimbo more in the CEO role? Because I really do think Jimbo is a fantastic coach. You saw he came back to Florida State during the Miami. He's doing ACC network. He said he's open to coaching, and he's getting linked with really smaller jobs like UAB and stuff like that, or Virginia Tech. But I think at Florida State, there's things that make sense. And again, I like Jimbo more than most. I think he can recruit. Yes, there's some fall off there, and I obviously if he's like, oh yeah, I want to bring the same offense I was running back in the early 2020s today, it's like, I don't know about that, man. That's where the hesitancy is going to come in, and that's why he's not. And that's why this is not the same tier as those other fucking 4 guys. This is the next tier down, and maybe I put a little bias into it. And yeah, I like Jimbo more than you. Maybe I think he's fucking a good coach. Is he the most? Is he innovative play caller anymore? No, the evidence says he's not. So let's figure it out and try to get him in. But I think he's still recruiting this program back to where it needs to be. So next tier starting now, number 5, Jimbo Fisher. Caveat: you got to get me a young hot shot coordinator with you. Next, technically my number 6 candidate, I got Rhett Lashley. I think he's 10-0. in the ACC. He recruits decent. I think there's a little hesitancy. I don't know if he coached at Miami. I think again he's another tier down. I don't know if he can win the biggest games and really like, is he gonna like if we hire Rhett Lashley and oh yeah, national championships galore. If we hire the top 4, I think that's the bar. With Rhett Lashley, I think the standard is going to be lower to like, oh, I don't know if we're really going to be rolling, crushing it like we would if we hired a Lane Kiffin, a Brent Key, or somebody like that and stuff. But he's still, I would still be happy with the hire. There would be worse hires to make. I would go with Rep before I would go with maybe other names that are going to be lower. That's why they're lower. So let's keep it a little quicker. The next one I got is Rhett Lashley. The next guy I got is Glenn Schumann. Maybe I probably should have I would think a lot, maybe you put him ahead of the Jimbo and you put him ahead of Jimbo, you put him ahead of Rhett, and he's like right into that Brian Hartline category. I prefer Brian Hartline a little bit more because again, I want to keep it offensive. And again, I think Brian Hartline's ceiling is just so fucking high. And again, Glenn Schumann, yeah, I think he ticks all the boxes, gives you the Dan Lanning vibes. Young, up and coming DC. Kirby talks very highly of him, and he's got recruiting chops in the Southeast. So I think that it makes a lot of sense. But the one thing is like it's kind of trending downward. Have you seen Georgia's defense this year? That's my worry, and I think you'd rather maybe go with the Brian Hartline, who may be coming off back-to-back national championships, or something like. And I think that's why I prefer Brian Hartline. I would consider Brian Hartline a home run hire. I would be happy with the Glenn Schumann hire because I think the investment in recruiting, I think we would get better in recruiting. And again, that's it isn't. And he's been a part of national championships. He's seen it been done. He's been in playoff games, even though he's not the head coach. He's been and played in big games. He knows what it's like. I would be happy with the Glenn Schumann hire. Wouldn't be again. I think I would put him above Rhett Lashley even, but I think I would prefer a Jimbo or a Brian Hartline over Glenn Schumann. Then obviously I would prefer the big names like a Brian Kelly or James Franklin over him as well. But Glenn Schumann would be a good hire. I'd really like to start George. If their defense started playing better this season, I'd really get excited because it has kind of been on a downward trend, which is going to be a con for him. But yeah, Glenn Schumann. Next, I got Clark Lee from Vanderbilt University. I think I think he's really good. If you can win at Vanderbilt, you can kind of win anywhere. Is the kind of the mindset you're going to have when you hire Clark Lee. I think again, head coach, big SEC, probably going to potentially make it to the playoffs this year. But again, you have to worry about is that's the crazy thing in the world. Like, remember, we live in a world where Kurt Signetti and the football world kind of just said, well, Indiana is not a huge promotion from Penn State. Now that the money can come from anywhere, there's NIL and stuff like that, it kind of does balance it a little bit. It's like, well, if Vanderbilt's just invested and they're investing millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars, why would you leave something you're already building than to start fresh at Florida State? But if you have to sell him, bring him over here. Him and Barton Simmons, I respect a lot. They haven't landed the 5 stars, but I would really trust their evaluations. They would have to get better at recruiting the high studs. Again, that's why they're not gonna they don't rank as higher as some of the other people. But I think I'd be happy with this hire because he has a consistency of winning in the SEC at a place that's notoriously tough to win. So this would be a good hire. Clark Lee. All right, I'm gonna love kind of 2 candidates, and we'll keep the B-roll just with Alex Galesh. But yeah. Alex Galesh and John Summerall are going to be your next 2 candidates. They're the best young G5 coaches in the country. But again, Mike Norvell was the best young G5 coach in the country, and he didn't do shit. So I think that's where these guys are really going to struggle. Is like, yeah, you can win a G5. I think I get that. I think there's a thought in the FSU fan base right now is like, you winning in these small schools doesn't mean shit. Like, USF honestly has kind of an easier path to winning. We've seen a lot of coaches. It's not the hardest place to win. John Summerall, Tulane isn't the hardest place to win. It's like you win at these small programs, but who really cares? I need bigger and better. Especially like, do you pay $50 million to fire Mike Norvell to hire Alex Galesh? Do you pay $50 million to hire John Summerall? That's the worry with these 2 hires. But you got to they're going to be realistic candidates. They're going to be, unfortunately. I know a lot of FSU fans are going to want to hear, including myself. That's why I have 8 names above these guys that I want FSU to call first. And there might even be names below them that you might want to call first as well. It's going to be very subjective there. And we're going to knock those guys out next. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm going to fire off a bunch of names for these last tier. This is kind of wild cards. You don't know. They might be good, they might be bad. So let's go through them. I think Deion Sanders, you know, they're not terrible this year. They keep winning, and maybe FSU takes a look, and who knows? But yeah, I think you got to mention Deion, just at least for just to see how it goes. Willie Fritz in Houston, 1 at Tulane, 6-1 at Houston this year. Could be a dog. Manny Diaz is always going to mention. Duke's not a terrible team. Has Penn State experience. Had his Miami tenure didn't go the best. Might make it a little hesitant for them. John Summerall, Willie Fritz. Sorry, Kalani Sitake at BYU. It's like that one. He has no South tie, so it's very like wild card. But man, if BYU just keeps winning, why not give a Kalani Sitake a call and stuff like that? And you just names like that and other head coaches. Again, I put in things would need to happen that are kind of crazy. Like, can you get a Kenny Dillingham to leave as Arizona State? I don't know if I find that realistic. Again, can you get a Brent Key to leave his alma mater in Georgia Tech? And where, again, are these people going to leave what's already built to come over here? Is what you don't know. But yeah. That's it, guys. Matt Campbell, Mark Stoops are also going to be other names, of course. But yeah, that was it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I definitely think out of the name, I think we named about like 16, 17 names. Even if you include more Shadow Realm guys, I kind of say like out of our control, like a Lane Kiffin, Lincoln Riley, Kenny Dillingham, Brent Key. Those guys I didn't officially put in there, but that's like 20 names. But I think definitely I have the home run hire that I'm happy with hire. There's pros and cons to everybody. Let me know what you guys think. Let me guys who you guys think that is going to be the next head coach. Because damn sure ain't going to be Mike Norvell. Take it easy, guys.